Okay, Melanie, let's take a look at your golf swing here. Obviously, we haven't worked together before, so this is just my first impressions of your golf swing. And so let's let this play, and I will put it on a loop so it just repeats itself. My initial impressions are that it's a very fluid golf swing, nice tempo, good rhythm, very nice balanced finish. I'm going to play this in slow motion now. And as I'm looking at this face-on view, which is what I call this angle, the face-on view, I'm looking at things like, is there any excessive lateral motion in your golf swing? Is there any excessive up and down motion in your golf swing? What does the footwork look like? Things like that. So let's start breaking this down a little bit. Once again, a nice tempo swing with good balanced finish. So there's a lot of good things going on here. Let's put this back at regular speed. And again, whenever I look at a golf swing for the first time, I always try to see what's the first one or two things that catch my eye when I start breaking the swing down. And so let's take a look at that. One of the first things I noticed is that when you make your golf swing, about half to 3/4 of the way back, your right hip starts moving away from the target, and your upper body starts tilting towards the target. I call this a reverse tilt or reverse pivot. So what do I mean by that? Let's take a look. If I draw a line up the outside of your right leg, when you start your swing and your hips at some point begin to turn, you stay within that line, as you can see right here. But as you continue right about here, now your right hip starts moving laterally outside that line. When that happens, your upper body starts tilting in towards the target, as you can see here. So let's take a look in comparison at what a backswing would look like with a driver that does not have the reverse tilt. We take a look at that view. So let's break that down a little bit. Let's draw that same line out up the outside of the leg. And as the backswing is made, the hip just does not cross that line. And then you can see the upper body actually tilts slightly away from the target. So when I'm usually working with students, when I see different things, different flaws in the golf swing, there may be some physical related things, whether it's some flexibility issues or some core strength issues, stability issues, things like that that we have to tease out to see what might be causing these kinds of things. In other words, the hip going to the right and the upper body in a reverse tilt. It just may be the simple concept of the golf swing that you didn't know that was happening that could fix this. But that's one thing that catches my eye. So the hip comes out and you get into a reverse tilt. Now as you swing forward, what I see is, if you watch your head and your upper body, they just start raising up a little bit as you're hitting the ball. And if you watch closely with your feet, the weight goes up on your toes of both feet as you hit the shot. Like the heels come off the ground of both feet and you're kind of raising up or slightly jumping up as you swing. So let's watch this in slow motion as you swing. Watch as you're hitting the ball, your body kind of raises up, right? There. And again, if you watch your feet, the weight goes towards the toes of your feet right there. I call it, it's kind of a jump swing. And if we look at it in these terms, if I draw a line right at the very top of your head, just as a frame of reference, as you swing, you'll see how your head right here starts coming up above that line and raising up. I believe that's happening because you are uncocking your wrists a little bit too early. And so what happens right there, even though the club is kind of blurry because it's moving, your golf club is right about here right now, and your club head is right there. So when the wrists are in that position and the golf club has come down that far in relation to your left arm, let's say, you actually should be, with the uncocking of those wrists, hitting a golf ball relative to the uncocking of your wrists that's back here. So you're uncocking your wrists too early. So you just relative to your wrist cock, once again, you should be hitting a ball where that red circle is. But what happens as the wrists uncock too soon, the tendency would be to hit the ground behind the ball when that happens. And so now you're raising your body up so that you don't hit the ground behind the ball. So if I were working with you, I'd start exploring, well, why does the uncocking of the wrist happen early? Is it because you're trying to get the club face to begin rolling over so that it's square when it hits the ball? Or are there some wrist issues physically going on? So that's just, again, things we have to explore. And those are some of the things that I do with my students as I'm working with them is as I see swing faults in the golf swing, just try to tease out, okay, why is that happening? So again, I'll just let this play again. And those are the few things that initially jump out at me. The other camera angle that I like to use when I'm analyzing golf swings is when someone is standing behind you, meaning, or actually to the right side of you, but behind the golf ball, looking out towards the target. I call that the down the line view. And the down the line view, which for example would be, let me show you a down the line view. Here's an example of a down the line view. That's the other view I like to use when I'm analyzing golf swings, and this shows the path that you swing on. It shows, again, any excess up or down movement of the body during the golf swing. But when I'm talking about and analyzing ball flight and direction, where the ball goes, this is always a good view to determine that. So hopefully this gives you an idea and just some things to think about in your golf swing that you can talk about with your instructor. And if you have any questions, just contact me.